Well, hey everyone, thanks for dropping by. My name is Tyler Edwards, and this is the next installment of Before You Upgrade Your Camera. Now, if you're new here, you probably don't know what I'm talking about, and that's okay. First of all, I just want to say thank you so much for dropping by. I hope that you come back again, maybe hit that subscribe button and all the good YouTube-y stuff. But to catch you up on this series, Before You Upgrade Your Camera, I really just wanted to make this series to talk about things that as filmmakers, we need to consider investing in or upgrading before we upgrade to that new camera. Now, I get it. New cameras are really exciting, and like as sucky as 2020 was for like every other aspect of life, the camera announcements were pretty awesome. And I want all of them. And I'll admit, I get really excited about new cameras, and I always want the new and latest camera and all that kind of stuff. But when it boils down to it, the camera is just a little part, just a little tool of a production, of a project. Whether it's a documentary or a narrative film or an interview or whatever the case may be, the camera really is just a small piece of the puzzle. And that's what this whole video series is about, is to talk about other parts of that puzzle to really help create that project. Some things are going to have a direct impact that I've talked about on the image, such as lights and modifiers, but there are other things that increase the production value, such as audio, which makes no impact on your visual aspect of your project, but nonetheless is just as important, and in some cases, and in many cases, audio and sound design can be even more important than the image quality of the video. And there are things that are just completely utilitarian, unexciting to talk about, like what we're going to talk about in this video, that just make our lives easier as filmmakers. And one of those things, as you can tell by the title of this video and everything on this table, is about batteries. Now, it's really hard to make a video really intriguing and enticing and entertaining about batteries because, quite frankly, that's just not really a fun topic to talk about or even watch. But just stick with me because there are some things that you need to consider with batteries and choosing a battery system. And the batteries that I'm going to talk about, there's two types of batteries that I want to talk about in this video that I believe that make our jobs as filmmakers just much more streamlined and less to think about on set or when charging batteries and all that kind of good stuff. And later on in this video, we'll hear from Tommy Calloway to kind of get his take on the battery systems that he uses and how he incorporates them into his workflow. But before we jump into that, and be sure to stick around for that, let's talk about these batteries that I have in front of me. I'm not going to go over the different sizes and all that kind of stuff, just going to talk about more so the systems and how and why I use them. So the first set of batteries that I'm talking about right here are these right here. These are the Sony NPF style batteries, and they are extremely useful to have in your kit. Now, these NPF style batteries can be used on a wide range of applications, everything from powering external monitors to powering wireless transmission systems to some lower powered LED lights, and then sometimes even like battery grips to power camera systems and stuff like that, like the tilted battery grip thing that you can use to power your pocket camera. All kinds of applications that you can use these NPF style batteries, and they've kind of become like the go-to universal battery out there for powering smaller accessories. So that's pretty much what I'm going to talk about, the NPF style batteries. They're really great batteries. They're really affordable. You can find them pretty much anywhere, Amazon or Adaram or B&H or whatever the case may be. And they're, like I said, they're really affordable, and they're just really useful to have in your kit. Now, that being said, there are some limitations with these batteries, and one of those limitations is the voltage that comes out of them. They typically peak out at about 7.4 volts, if I remember correctly, which is not enough voltage to power higher end cinema cameras and even some higher power lights out there, which is a great segue into the next type of battery, which are these right here. Now, these batteries right here are V-mount batteries. However, there is another mount of battery, the gold mount battery, which they look identical. They have the same wattage, all that kind of stuff. All these brands typically make gold mount counterparts to the V-mount batteries. However, the mount is just completely different. The gold mount is typically a much more secure mount, meaning it's less likely that it's going to get bumped off of a camera battery plate or a light or something like that. Now, that being said, I personally have not experienced any issues with V-mount batteries. However, that is one of the advantages of gold mount batteries. So that being said, Why would you decide to go with a gold mount or V mount battery as opposed to one of these NPF style batteries? Number one, the voltage requirement of some higher end cinema cameras and lights out there are just too much for these NPF style batteries to be able to power. Now, for example, my Ursa, it came out of the box without any kind of plate on it. So I had to get a V mount battery plate to attach to the back of it so I could use my V mount batteries. Now, the benefit there is V-mount batteries are not specific to a particular camera out there. So for example, I have the Ursa Mini Pro G2, but if I were to work on a project where the client really wanted it to be shot on red for some reason, I could just go out and rent a red camera with a V-mount battery plate on there, and I have a number of V-mount batteries that I can use to power that camera without having to worry about getting a different brand of battery or something like that. Now, I've become a real huge fan of these Bebob micro batteries just because of their size and just how portable they are and how lightweight they are. And some even battery plates you can put on and set these sideways to basically have two batteries running at the same time. Some other manufacturers have like a shark fin. I think Core makes a shark fin one, which you can have two batteries. That basically you can kind of hot swap so you'll never have to turn your camera off, which is super useful. But V-mount and gold mount batteries aren't just used to power a camera or camera system. Although they are very useful for that, they're just much more versatile than that, and they can be used on a wide range of applications. Now, a friend of mine and YouTuber, Tommy Calloway, has done a really good job of incorporating V-mount batteries into his workflow, into his YouTube studio, and I thought it'd be really cool to kind of get his perspective. So I reached out and asked him if he'd kind of talk about V-mount batteries and maybe his V-mount batteries that he uses and kind of how he's incorporated each of those V-mount batteries into his workflow and into his YouTube studio. So that being said, let's hear what Tommy has to say about V-mount batteries in his workflow.
Thanks for having me on, Tyler. So V-mount batteries is an interesting topic, and I've collected several of them over the past couple years, so I'm going to share my experience with V-mount batteries and how I use them and some of my favorite things about different brands. First off, if I had to pick one V-mount battery brand to go with, it would probably be Bebob because they're the most reliable. They're drop proof up to 1.5 meters. They're rain proof because of the way they've designed their DTAP ports, which also allows you to plug in the DTAP cord in either direction, left or right, so you don't have to worry about what side the cord is going to be coming off of. Their batteries have a light built in, and they've got a USB port, and the little light on the battery tells you when it's time to service the battery. So it'll go from green to yellow to red. I've never had a battery go yellow or red yet, but when it does change colors, that means that it's time to get your battery serviced, and it'll cost less to service a battery than it will to replace it and buy a new one. Now, when you're buying a V-mount battery, there's a lot of things to consider. One is form factor. Is the battery going to be the right size, or is the battery too big for whatever you're trying to use physically? If you're trying to pack a bunch of batteries in a bag, you'll be able to fit more of them in a bag if they're the tiny little micro-sized batteries as opposed to really big standard size V-mount batteries. How durable are they? How much do they cost? What's your budget? What is the amperage output? Some of these batteries will only put out 3 to 6 amps, while others, like this one from Bebob, will put out up to 20 amps. Now, there's also these two lights behind me, the Rotolight Titan X1 and the Aperture Nova. They require at least 24 volts of power, so you need to use high power V-mount battery. And that's a special kind of V-mount battery. If you plug this battery into something that's not rated for a high voltage V-mount battery, it'll fry your electronics or your equipment. So you need to be aware of what kind of batteries your equipment requires and what batteries you're plugging them into. And then if you get a 26 volt V-mount battery, you're also going to need to get a 26 volt V-mount battery charger. Another way around that is to get a converter, which will convert two standard 14 to 16 volt V-mount batteries into a 24.5 volt. And this is what I use to power the Rotolight Titan over V-mount. In fact, these are Rotolight's V-mount batteries and Rotolight's converter. My favorite V-mount battery charger is probably this other one, also from Bebob, because it's completely silent. A lot of the chargers that I've used have fans that as soon as you turn them on to charge the batteries, they get really loud. And I don't like sound, I don't like fan noise. I want everything to be super silent. And this is a super silent, very quick V-mount battery charger from Bebob, and it's my favorite. This is what I charge most of my V-mount batteries on, unless they're 26 volts. So let me show you how I'm using V-mount batteries in my studio. One, I'm powering my MixPre 3 with a V-mount battery using Bebob's V-mount battery to USB converter plate. Usually when you power the MixPre 3 over USB, If you're just using a regular USB connection, it will limit the features available to the MixPre because of the lack of voltage, but this, it puts out like 7 watts or whatever, just above what's required to power the MixPre 3 at full power. So that's what I use for that. The monitor that I'm using, power that with Vemma batteries also. That's the OC monitor, and when I'm doing live streams, it has a USB out port. I just power my wireless transmitter with that, and so the monitor is completely wireless. And so that's how, so as soon as I plug in the Vemma battery, that monitor turns on, the transmitter turns on, it connects, and then I get going. Of course, I like to power all my lights with Vemma batteries when I can, because even though I'm in this small studio environment, it's really nice to not have to walk over and trip over cords all the time. So that's my talk about Vemma batteries. Thanks for having me on, Tyler. I'll talk to you soon.
Well, thanks so much, Tommy, for carving time out of your busy schedule to collaborate with me on this one. I really do appreciate it. Those of you watching, if you are not already subscribed to Tommy's channel, make sure you head over to his channel after this and hit subscribe and the notification bell, all that good stuff to keep up to date when he posts new content. Now, this was not a very exciting video, number one, to talk about, or for you to listen to, or watch, I guess, depending, anyways. But nonetheless, batteries are really important to have in your kit. And to have a battery, a type of battery, whether it's V-mount or gold mount or MPF, to have a battery system that is compatible with a wide range of applications is really important and really useful, because number one, it saves costs on when you invest in a new camera, for example. You can take those batteries with you to the next camera, or to use on a wide range of other applications like I mentioned. So with that being said, thank you so much for sticking around till right now. If you are, maybe subscribe if you're not already. But really thank you for sticking around, and let me know down in the comments below if you prefer to use V-mount or gold mount batteries and why. Well, as always, thank you so much for watching, and I hope to see you in the next one. Peace.